For the last month, I've been using a bullet journal. If you want to see how I got on, this is the video for you. And if the idea of that excites you and interests you, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, like the video, all that kind of good stuff. But if, on the other hand, you have no idea what a bullet journal is, allow me to take a brief moment to explain before we have a little look at what I've been up to over the last month. Bullet journaling at its core is a way of combining diaries, to-do lists, scheduling, notes, goals, anything you'd ever write down in any notebook or scrap of paper. It's kind of a way of combining it all into one place and trying to keep it organised and make some sense of it. It was devised by a man called Ryder Carroll, who was diagnosed as a child with ADHD, found it really hard to keep himself organised and focused on tasks, and over years of trial and error developed this system, which eventually became known as bullet journaling. He started a website, he wrote a book about it, and since then it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and it's moved on from just a notebook that you scribble stuff down in black ink and organise your notes with, to this massive artistic explosion of just awesomely creative stuff that you see on Instagram, you can see here on YouTube, there's lots of it on Pinterest, and it's kind of, as the community around bullet journaling has grown, become this thing where, in addition to organisation and focus and just organising your thoughts and appointments, it's turned into this thing where you can also express your creativity. And just the general idea is it's a system that has a basic structure, but you can then do whatever you want with, and that's what appealed to me. I'm someone who has always carried a notebook. I've previously called it the Book of Awesome, and I basically scribble notes down in it, and more often than not, the notes then never have anything done with them. I then operate a Google Calendar, which syncs to all my devices to manage my appointments. I have a to-do list app on my phone. Back when I was a teacher, I had a big teacher planner thing, but I also had a teacher planner thing on my iPad. Going back to my previous life as a financial advisor, I even had a Filofax. I've always had lots of things. I have this, which I use to organize my videos, which just sits on my desk in front of my computer. I always have lots of things to try and keep me organized, and I do use most of them. The only problem is they don't automatically sync across each other, because some of them are analog, some of them are digital, some of them I update regularly, some don't need updating regularly, and it was a mess. I like to consider myself quite an organized person, and I think I probably was. I am quite productive. I do manage to keep on top of the majority of my tasks, but what I was finding is it was taking more and more work to keep my sort of cobbled together system that I was using running, and ridiculous stuff like copying appointments from my Google Calendar to my diary, and then stuff that's related to those appointments into my to-do list. And there was so much redundancy within my system, and it was wasting so much time, that I thought I needed to do something different. And I'd seen bullet journaling on YouTube for years. If you've spent any time looking at personal development, personal organization, personal growth stuff on YouTube ever, you will have seen it. And I'd kind of written it off as a thing that wasn't ever going to be for me, because it was so arty and so pretty, and I didn't want to add more wasted time to what I was doing. And I'm not a particularly artistic, creative person when it comes to drawing and making stuff look pretty. I'm very functional with my organizer, with my notebooks. I didn't want to have to spend time using tape and stencils and colors to make the system work, so I kind of just ignored it and put it on the back burner. But then I was looking again towards the end of last year, as everybody does. I always love getting a new diary in January. I am a stationery nerd. Getting a new diary is always one of my favorite things, even though I've already said I have a Google Calendar, I have separate to-do list apps. I would always buy a diary as well, because I love having a physical diary, because it's a nice thing to have. But I was looking at diaries thinking, because for the last few years I'd used a Moleskine one. The only one I had to hand was my 2018 one. 2019 one is probably still in my camera bag, because I've not taken it out yet. But the general structure of these is that they would have a week of stuff and then a notes page to go with it. And you can see the general system of, I would start the year really using it. So I would be filling stuff in and actually using it, and it would work and it would be really useful. But then we'd get towards the end of the year and I would be using it less and less and less. and it just became almost a copy of what was in my Google Calendar. And I was on the verge of buying one of these again, and I thought there must be another way. I've had these for probably 4 or 5 years, these Moleskine notebooks. They are expensive, and I don't continue using them throughout the year. So I thought I'll just have another look at that bullet journaling thing, watch a couple of videos on it. And I found the actual bullet journal website, which opened my eyes to the fact that it doesn't have to be pretty, arty, fancy stuff. It can just be a way of keeping yourself organised and keeping everything in one place. I was so enamoured with what I found on the website, I actually bought the book that tells you how to use the system and bought the official bullet journal notebook, which you absolutely don't need. I just bought it because I'm like that. If there's something you can buy, I'll probably buy. I even downloaded the app, which I don't use at all. Don't get the app. It's pretty pointless. But I do have the book, and I've been using it since I set it up last week in November. It's now the end of the first full week of January. I've been using it ever since, and it is awesome. I want to show you how I'm using it. This is the only book I carry with me now, apart apparently from my 2019 diary, which is probably at the bottom of my bag. But this manages all of my appointments. It manages my to-do lists. I make notes directly into this, and that might sound like it just has the potential to be a huge mess of nonsense, but because of the brilliant structure behind the bullet journaling system, it actually all stays organized as well, and I can find stuff really easily in it. I need to show you my book. So here we have my bullet journal, which has the lovely little loop to hold it in place there. It's got the pen loop on the side, which obviously I bought separately because, again, love to buy things. So because this is the official bullet journal book, it does come with the key of stuff that allows you to work out how the system works. So it's important stuff once you get around the system, and it does have some tips and some explanations for how to use it. And in the back, there's more information on how bullet journaling works. So as a beginner, this is a good book to buy. You can get it on Amazon. I'll link to it down below. But the thing that makes the bullet journal so awesome is the index page, because every page in this book is numbered, and then as long as you keep the index up to date, you can then keep up to date with where everything is. So you can see I've been using my index page. So straight away, if I want to go and have a look at my goals, for example, I know my goals are on page 35 to 36, so I can just go to page 35 and 36 and see what my goals are, and it's really simple and easy to use. But the general structure of how the bullet journal works is you have a number of logs, and then it's a way of making them interact with each other and managing it within that system. So you have the future log, which is basically your year planner. So January, February, etc. You know how the months work, and anything that you know is definitely happening in those months, you can stick it in your future log. So this is where you'll manage when stuff is happening, etc. So you can keep on top of diary stuff that you would typically fill into your diary at the start of the year. But then at the start of each month, you then do a monthly log where, as you can see, I started this in December. So we've got the days of the month listed down the side there, both in terms of the date and the day, with just a letter signifying what the day is. And then major stuff that we've got going on throughout the month that's copied over from your future log. Fill it in on there so you then know exactly what's going on throughout that month. Plus then you have a month of to-do list. So this is what I've got to do this month. This is what I'm looking to achieve this month. And then from there, you break it down into daily stuff, which you populate from here. You set it up for each day. So you can see the first day I did this was the 6th of December. And this was my to-do list for that day, which is based on the appointments I had that day, which was none. Plus any of the stuff from the to-do list that I know I can get done that day. So for example, set up bullet journal was the top of my December goals. So I can set up bullet journal, that's on there. Plus any stuff that comes up during the day as well, I can then add to my daily log. You can see the little symbols we're using here. The little arrow means that I didn't get it done that day. I moved it forward to a future day. So schedule videos for the weekend. You can see that I actually moved that forward to Saturday in the end because I didn't get it done. That's where I've done it, and then I've put a cross through it to say that it was done. But I did get my bullet journal set up. I recorded the podcast. The little dash means it's just a note. So that's me explaining to myself why I didn't go to the gym, and I was late home from uni, so that's why I didn't go to the gym. I pushed that forward to Monday, and then probably didn't go then either. You can see I've crossed through it completely and just given up on the gym in December at that point. But every thing that you have to achieve has the little bullet next to it, and then you'll either cross through it to say that it's done, put a forward arrow to say you've moved it forward in your daily log, or you can do a backwards arrow to say, actually, that's something I'm not going to get done this month. I'm moving that backwards into my future log. So, for example, if I have, I don't know, film copper update video, which I did end up doing in December, but if I decided, actually, you know what, I'm going to do that video in January, rather than moving it through my to-do list every day, I'd put a backwards arrow and then put it into the future log for January. So when I'm setting up January's monthly log, it can immediately go on that to-do list, which will then get it back into the daily rotation. It's a fantastic system for just keeping stuff organized. But where it really comes into its own is that you can then do what you want with the rest of it as long as it's indexed. So I've got my content planner for both the vlog channel and my gaming channel. You can see what videos I was planning on releasing when I got them released, and then just general notes, and the notes just scatter throughout it. So I know these were notes that I made in December, because it's still after December before we hit January. They're notes that I've made on certain things. Every now and again we get into some more daily logs and podcast planning stuff in there, my Disneyland trip that we went on, and then we hit January and it kind of draws a line under all of those notes. I can still find them again because they're still on the index page, but we then start afresh in January with a new monthly log, which is populated from the stuff that was on the future log. So if we go back and check the future log for January, you can see the big things that we had for January, where my MOT was due, Amy has a dentist appointment, Andy has his respite, it's Lucy's birthday, and I have to submit my tax return. And if we come over onto the month, you can see all of those things made their way onto this. So tax return due, Andy at respite, Lucy's birthday. But then I've made my to-do list, everything I want to get done this month. Other appointments have come up throughout the month. So we went to see Andy's doctor at his school earlier this week. We've got Dave booked into the vet, so we can add to this as we go, but it gives me a nice overview of the month. And then again, content planners, and then we break down into the day-to-day stuff. If something's super important and I need to make sure I get it done, I can signify that with a star. And then once again, we get into just various notes. So this is the Weight Watchers video. That's a month-long thing that will come out in February. This is the No Social Media one that will come out in February. Video that I've already released. My goals for the year, I put the goals in here. And then this was an exercise that I got out of the bullet journal book called 54321, where you take your goals and then put them into categories of whether they're in 5 years, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, or 1 hour. Basically put each of the goals that I've got into one of those categories. In each category, decide which one's most important, and then make those the only ones I'm focusing on. So from this big long list of things I'd quite like to do, I now know my 2 big 5-year goals are to pay off all my debt. So I've got a couple of credit cards, I've got my student overdraft still, that all needs paying off, and reach 100,000 subscribers on the lollujo channel. So they're my 2 big 5-year goals. Slightly medium-term goals, I want to lose 35 pounds, and I want to write my non-fiction book that I'm going to be starting or continuing with very, very soon. And then I've got some high priority but stuff that we can get out of the way a little bit quicker. Give the kitchen a deep clean, which I still haven't done, but it is still on the, if we go back to the monthly log, where are we? Where's my monthly log? I could use the index to find it, but we'll just flick back. But the kitchen deep clean should still be on here. There you go, tidy kitchen. It is still on there. And get bullet journal set up was on there. Streaming, re-establish routine. I've kind of decided to put streaming on the back burner for the time being, but the 3-week plan, rearrange my office and garage. I've been trying to do that for 2 years, but now I've actually planned it in. I know I'm doing it in that week, and not only do I know I'm doing it that week, but because I know I'm doing it that week, I've structured my content plan around being able to do that. So making sure that I'm not making any Football Manager videos that week. So I've been getting ahead on those, and as soon as I get to the point where I'm finished those up to here, then I know I can get on with doing that. And it's allowing me to get a job done that I've wanted to do for a long, long time. And then I've got various notes on various other things that I've got to get done. The big videos that I'm making, more daily log stuff. And it's just, I can't speak highly enough of the bullet journal system. It is awesome. But the really awesome thing is what you'd have seen in there is I didn't have to do any pretty colours or any pretty pictures. I could have done, and if pretty colours and pretty pictures float your boat, you can absolutely do that. But I've just used it as an efficient organisation system that is working for me. I'm producing videos at a much faster rate than I ever have before. I'm already a week ahead on my Football Manager videos. Not only that, I've been going to the gym every day. I'm keeping on top of my diet. I'm focused in on getting the studio finally set up and finished, and even building a video off the back of that. I've got some book planning stuff in here. I am so much further ahead with everything than I've ever been before at this stage of the year, and I firmly believe that if I keep this up, this is going to make this my most efficient year ever. And I've had some pretty efficient years before. If you want to find out more about Bullet Journal, I have linked to some stuff down in the description below where you can go to their website. You can buy the book for yourself. You can get the notebook. But really, any notebook is fine, as long as you and any key, any system. Just get a rough idea for how it works, but then build a system that works for you. And that's what I love about it so much, the fact that it can be completely unique to what you want. And that bullet journal flip through I've just done for you is probably like no other one you've ever seen on YouTube. But this works for me. I don't need pretty pictures. I don't need a whole load of special habit trackers and things set up. What I need is a way to organise my notes so I don't have to carry a diary and a notebook, which I've done for years, and have different apps and have different to-do lists. It's all in one place, and my word, it is so much easier once you get your head around the system. So yeah, I am absolutely going to be carrying Bullet Journal on beyond this month's experiment with it. I don't see myself ever coming away from it now. I'm genuinely that passionate about how brilliant it has been, and I urge you to give it a try. Go watch some videos from people who actually know what they're talking about, who've been using it for a lot longer. If you want to see more stuff on Bullet Journal from me, maybe have another look after I'm 3 or 4 months in to see what my thoughts are, then let me know down in the comments, or I can show you in more detail how I do the content planner, or how I set up my goals, how I'm using this to plan my new book that's going to be coming out very soon. Let me know down in the comments, but give it a try. Bullet Journal is awesome.